Hey, welcome. So glad you're here with me today. It has been a minute since I've recorded anything. I think the last episode that I dropped was at the end of December 2025. We are now in April, and this episode is dedicated to explaining my podcast disappearance. That's right. I disappeared for a while, and You know, I just wanted to come on and be real about where I've been, what happened, what this season has pulled out of me, and what's ahead moving forward. But before we dive in, let me reintroduce myself and the show. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Nick. I'm a wellness coach and wholeness advocate, and you are listening to Holistic Mental Health for Women Solopreneurs. So let's get right into it, shall we? All right. So here's what happened. I ended 2025 pumped. I mean, I was so excited about 2026. I even dubbed it the year of the pause and actually did a countdown to 2026 in my newsletter. I intended for the countdown to be this ramp up to a year that I was so incredibly excited about. I wanted to show up consistently and expand my services in ways that I hadn't been able to before. And it was all going to be centered around me teaching about the pause, which is really radical self care, right? If you followed me for any amount of time, you know I'm the pause lady. We talk about pausing all the time. And pausing is so important because it is the way we care for ourselves, spirit, mind, and body. But what happened to me was 2026 came in like a storm. I mean, it had me in a chokehold from January 2nd. It was like from go. I was very sick for the first 2 weeks of the year. Coming out of that sickness, I found out about the loss of one of my dear cousins, which was really difficult. And then I got the news that I would need to leave my home for about 2 months and travel across the country to support family in a pretty intense caregiving scenario. If you've ever been an in home caregiver for someone, then you know that your world as you know it essentially stops. That's what happened. My world stopped. All my plans abruptly stopped. And almost immediately, I lost total control over my time, my patterns, my schedules, my routines, and really the version of 2026 I thought I was stepping into. I went from feeling totally clear, motivated, excited, and hopeful to feeling like I was just trying to survive each and every day. I was angry. I was frustrated. And I hate to admit it, but I was also resentful. I was scared. I felt defeated. And as time continued, I was completely exhausted. I mean, wiped out. I had absolutely zero capacity to follow through with anything I felt was supposed to be happening in my world in 2026. As I felt completely out of control, and the fear and disappointment of that sat with me every single day. I had the weight of an emotionally heavy situation, but also the mental pressure of watching life continue moving forward while I had zero capacity to move with it. I was stuck in survival mode, and it was a total gut punch daily. Part of what was hard about my situation was not just watching the plans I was so excited about feel like they were moving farther and farther away from my reality while I was doing the best I could to just get through each day. But it was in the midst of all that frustration, the tears, the pouting, because let's get real. I was fighting not to break out into a full on 2-year-old temper tantrum most days. Have you ever been there? Please tell me I'm not alone. But I still learned in a deeper way what I'm always teaching. And that's how powerful and strategic a pause can be, even the forced ones that don't always feel so good. So, because I wasn't able to dive into all my 2026 plans the way I wanted to, I all of a sudden had time and space to reflect on what I truly wanted for my business, my services, my dreams, my visions. I didn't have much space to do anything about them. And sometimes I honestly couldn't even write anything down. But that time, that space, that pause, it allowed me to recognize that maybe in 2026, it was time for me to make some powerful strategic pivots in the plans that I was so desperately trying to hang on to. And now some of what I was distraught over is not even an issue because during the pivot, everything changed. Things that I thought were so critical don't even fit me or my business trajectory the same way now. Things I was trying so hard to force no longer feel like the right focus. And some of the clarity I was desperate for only came because I was forced to stop. I also learned how important it was to trust the process and God's divine timing, right? It can feel like we're behind. It can feel like, oh my gosh, like, I mean, it's almost like imagine being on a train and you're supposed to, get off at that stop, and then that stop, just the train doesn't even stop. It just keeps going and you're just looking at your destination going further and further and further away. That's literally how it felt as I was thinking about my business, and I was thinking about all these dreams and goals I had for quarter 1, and it was like they were slowly going further and further away as I just sat there stuck on my train of life, unable to hop off and dive in. But, I had to learn that the world wouldn't fall apart if I have to shift or even delete things in my life to prioritize my wellness, right? Because the reality was I didn't have the capacity to do these things. I needed to slow down. I needed to let those things be, or else I wasn't going to make it. I was going to run myself ragged and probably sick. And it wasn't worth it. Now, of course, in theory, I know that the world isn't going to fall apart, but sometimes we truly need a reminder of the things we already know, right? Because knowing something and actually acting on that something are two entirely different things. And this is big, huge for anyone, but particularly for solopreneurs. Because when you care deeply, when you have vision, when you have ideas, when you know there's more in you, it can feel incredibly hard to loosen your grip on the plan that you worked so hard to create. But I had to let go. And when I did, amazing things happened. Another critical thing I learned while in this sort of forced pause, I mean, again, it's already something I knew, but this season really deepened it for me, is that when you're in a situation where you feel not only stretched thin, but your heart feels ripped open. I mean, ripped open. And I'll definitely go more into um when your heart feels like it's shattered or ripped in pieces and so exposed. In 2 upcoming episodes, I'm going to share more about this and how that impacts your solopreneur journey. But when you're feeling stretched thin, who you have in your corner can make or break you. This was a lesson I learned. Community. Community saved me during the first couple of months of 2026. And I'm internally grateful for the women who stepped up and rallied around me. And I don't say this lightly. Being surrounded by people who knew how to hold me up, hold space for me, it really did something in me because I'm the one who's always holding space for others. I'm the one who's always reaching out. Now, these ladies may not have been able to actually do anything about my situation, but their regular check ins and offers of support to hold me down will never be forgotten. Some of this support came from friends that I would have never asked, but I didn't have to ask. They just showed up. This may be your story too. You may be the go to friend. You may be the space holder for others and feel that's not consistently provided for you. When I first started coaching, one of the most common topics I coached on was finding true friends and connection. If there's one thing I've grown even more passionate about helping women with, particularly women over 40, it's cultivating communities of belonging, prioritizing healthy relationships with like minded women who are truly rooting for you and know how to hold space for you without judging or trying to fix your situation. This season of silence, of disappearance from my own podcast really solidified that for me. It's important, it's critical. We must prioritize it. I also learned during this season how critically important it is to prioritize your dream pursuit. Again, this is something I share more about the importance about going after your dreams and its impact on your mental health when you don't pursue your dreams in an upcoming episode. But just know I came out of this season on fire about how important it is to go all in with the dreams in your heart. It's so important, guys. It's so important. And as I said in an upcoming episode, I'm going to share more about this. And not only an upcoming episode, I'm going to share more about your dream pursuit. I'm actually doing a series on dreaming where I'm going to have people come on and share with you amazing people who have actually fulfilled major, major dreams in their hearts. And they're going to share their stories and inspire us and give tips. And it's just going to be a great series. And the reason why this is so important is because we only have one life to live, and time is one thing that we don't get back when we use it, right? So I want you to be in position, inspired, equipped, and motivated to leave it all out there so that at the end of your life, you can truly die empty. So moving forward, you will have weekly podcast episodes that are mostly me sharing tips, wisdom, and guidance about how to build your business sustainably or go after your dreams with reckless abandon, all while prioritizing your wellness and not abandoning the essence of who you are. I will still have my guest episodes, but they will be more intentionally centered around various topics. As I mentioned earlier, we've got the Dream Pursuit series coming up, and I also have a caregiving series coming up. These two series are incredibly important to me because they truly, really, they encapsulate, they mark the disappearance season. My Q1 was marked with caregiving and some deep motivation and inspiration around dream pursuit that I never would have had necessarily had my pause not happened. So these are going to be fabulous episodes. I'm so excited to share them with you. They are going to be encouragement for how to continue moving forward when it feels like any and everything is trying to hold you back. You know, a lot has happened in 2026 for me so far. I've just touched the surface of explaining it to you in this episode. This year has been challenging in ways that I hadn't expected. But here's what I'm giving myself permission to do moving forward. I'm giving myself permission to pivot from the plan when it feels necessary for forward movement. I'm giving myself permission to say no to what doesn't align. I'm giving myself permission to say yes to what will move me closer to my dreams. I'm giving myself permission to be me authentically. And maybe, just maybe, in my being honest about all of this, I'm also giving you permission to do the same. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to invite you to subscribe to my newsletter called The Pause for Solos over on Substack. That's where I share deeper reflections, encouragement, teachings, and tips, and honest words for women who are trying to pursue their dream of solopreneurship while also honoring their wellness, their humanity, and the season they're in. Ladies, let's pause here for a moment. Take a pause to breathe in deeply and slowly breathe out. Check in with yourself. Where are you today? What are you needing to give yourself permission to do? Permission to not do? Or who are you needing to give yourself permission to be today? What pivots might you need to make on your journey today? Until next time, nurture the wholeness within.